Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 25. Shanaihi shanaihi uparameta buddhaya grihitaya atmasanstham manah kritva na kaschid api chintayet.
Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else.
Yato yato nischalati manah chanchalam astiram tatah tato niyamya etat atmani eva vasham nayet.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Prashantamanasam hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutam akalmasham.
The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his qualitative identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds.
Yukjan evam sadatmanam yogi vigata kalmashah sukhena brahma sansparsham atyantam sukham asrute.
Thus the self-controlled yogi, constantly engaged in yoga practice, becomes free from all material contamination and achieves the highest stage of perfect happiness in transcendental, loving service to the Lord.
Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani cha atmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord everywhere.
Yom mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sa cha me na pranashyati.
For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me.
Sarvabhutasthhitam yo mam bhajyetam vamastitah sarvatha vartamanopi sa yogi mayi vartate.
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Super Soul, knowing that I and the Super Soul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances.
Atma aupamyena sarvatra samam pashyati yo Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukham sa yogi paramo matah.
He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress. O Arjuna,
Arjuna uvacha yaha oyam yogaha tvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram.
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me. for the mind is restless and unsteady.
Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavat dratam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram.
The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Sri Bhagavan Asanshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Guhyate.
Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Asanyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matihi vashyatmana tudyatata shakya eva mupayatah.
For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion.
Arjuna uvacha ayatihi sradhaya upetah yogat chalitamanasah aprapya yoga sansiddhim kam gatim Krishna gacchati.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?
Kaschit na upaya vibrashtah chinna abrammanashyati apratishto mahabaho vimuto brahmanah pathi.
O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man, who is bewildered from the path of transcendency, fall away from both spiritual and material success, and perish like a riven cloud, with no position in any sphere?
Etanme sanshayam Krishna chetum arhasi arsheshatah Tvatanyah sanshayasya chetana hyupapadyate.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Parthanaive Hanamutra Vinashastasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krutta Kaschit Durgatim Tata Gacchati.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Partha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shasvati samaha shuchinam trimatam gehe yogaha prashta abhichayate.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
अथवा योगिनामेव कूले भवति धीमताम् अतद्विदुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम्.
Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world.
तत्र तं बुद्धिसंयोगं लभते पौरदेहिकं यतते च ततो भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरु नन्दन.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine. Sorry, Prabhuji, I've lost it now.
Sorry.
No, Prabhuji, I think it was after the 40, so it was probably 41 or 42.
43.
43, yeah. Sorry. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. O son of Kuru,
पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव हीयते ह्यावशो अपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दभ्रमाति वर्तते.
by virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures.
प्रयत्नात् यतमानः संशुद्धिकिल्बिषः अनेकजन्म संसिद्धस्ततो याति परां गतिम्.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
तपस्विभ्यः अधिकः योगी ज्ञानेभ्य अपि मतः अधिकः कर्मेभ्यः च अधिकः योगी तस्माद् योगी भवार्जुन.
A yogi is greater than the I can't say that word probably, ascetic, greater than the impericate, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi.
योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां स मे युक्ततमो मतः.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, sorry for any mistakes.
Om Tatsaditti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahmavidyayam Yoga Sastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Dhyana Yoga Nama Shashtodhyayah Krishna Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Pragna Mataji and Priyanka Mataji, for your wonderful recitation. So today we are going to zoom on 630, verse number 30 of chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll discuss some details from here. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasya aham na pranashyami sa cha me na pranashyati. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasya aham na pranashyami sa cha me na pranashyati. I'll repeat one more time. यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्य अहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति. Yeah, whoever mam, me, pashyati sees sarvatra everywhere, sarvam everything, cha and may in me, pashyati sees tasya for him, aham I, na not, pranashyami lost, am lost, saha a he, cha also, me to me, na nor, pranashati is lost. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. Purport again by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A person in Krishna consciousness certainly sees Lord Krishna everywhere, and he sees everything in Krishna. Such a person may appear to see all separate manifestations of the material nature, but in each and every instance he is conscious of Krishna, knowing that everything is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. Nothing can exist without Krishna, and Krishna is the Lord of everything. This is the basic principle of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the development of love of Krishna, a position transcendental even to material liberation. At this stage of Krishna consciousness, beyond self-realization, the devotee becomes one with Krishna in the sense that Krishna becomes everything for the devotee, and devotee becomes full in loving Krishna. An intimate relationship between the Lord and the devotee then exists. In that stage, the living entity can never be annihilated, nor is he nor is the personality of Godhead ever out of sight of the devotee. To merge in Krishna is spiritual annihilation. A devotee takes no such risk. It is stated in Brahma Samhita 5.38. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santah sadev hrideshu vilokayanti yamushama sundaram achanta gunaswarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyamasundar, situated within the heart of the devotee. At this stage, Lord Krishna never disappears from the sight of the devotee, nor does the devotee ever lose sight of the Lord. In the case of a yogi who sees the Lord as Paramatma within the heart, the same applies. Such a yogi turns into a pure devotee and cannot bear to live for a moment without seeing the Lord within himself. Om Jnanam Timrindasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapad Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishvanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvaivacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. So we have been reading chapter 6 for quite a few days, and it can be seen as to how Krishna is gradually promoting the concept of mind and controlling the mind to Arjun. And we can see that he is starting to describe various ways and methods of controlling the mind. So in the beginning, we saw that how this mind is actually responsible for all the perceptions of the senses. And if one is unable to control the mind, then one will never be able to achieve the supreme. This is the understanding Krishna is trying to give to Arjun. And through various verses, we can see that Krishna is establishing that there's a process of yoga. In this particular chapter, there's an emphasis on Dhyana Yoga, and where Krishna is describing about the importance of the postures, importance of the breathing, and by doing so, how one can, the purpose is to control the mind. And um, but just controlling the mind is not going to be good enough. Krishna is also talking about that how mind has to be completely situated in trance, which is samadhi. Now, what is the stage of samadhi? And that is what Krishna is trying to give us step by step an insight into samadhi. Arjun has put forward many arguments that mind is always flickering, unsteady, and how do we control the mind? And therefore, Krishna continues to expand and explain that how mind has to be constantly engaged in yoga and how a yogi is able to do this to achieve the highest stage of happiness. So ultimately, in verse number 29, which would have been done yesterday, Krishna comes to the point now. He says, a true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere. Now, there could be various understanding of spirituality, and we see how Srila Prabhupada keeps on bringing this point of liberation, which is uh, considered to be a liberation, which is merging into the Brahman Jyoti. And that could be one form of samadhi that one can try to achieve. And but there is no engagement in Brahman Jyoti. For example, I think that I want to go to a part of this country, world, where I'll become happier. Let's say I want to go to Australia, and I'll go to Australia and I'll be free of my miseries. I'll get everlasting peace, and I will have no anxieties of the future. or hankering of the past, and I can live very peacefully my life. Fair enough. The person then goes to Australia. It's easy. It's an analogy of material world. Take a ticket, get into the plane, reach to Australia. Once you are in Australia, you're given a place in an island. There's nobody to talk to. There's no creatures. There's no birds. There's no nature. You're just asked to stay in an island where there's nobody. There's no activity. You're on your own. Indeed, initially, one may feel very nice. Okay, I'm out of all the disturbances. There's nobody to bother me. I've got all the time in the world. But hey, what am I going to do? Will I just lie here, look in the sky, meditate upon something? Or will I do something else? But who will I do it for? And who I do it with? Where are those people? Where is that relationship? So very soon we will see that how this person will feel completely frustrated, because now he has nobody to share his emotions, his feelings, his activities, and all he's stuck is by himself. And because his mind will always be wanting to do something, because mind is, remember, reservoir of desires. If desires are not fulfilled, the mind will not feel satisfied. In this case, he want to express his desires. And if desires, there's nobody to take that expression of desires, then he will not feel happy. Therefore, this merging into Brahman Jyoti is akin to going to Australia but having nobody to talk to, having no where uh, to do any activities. There's no platform to do activities. There's no relationships. There's no other living entities that you are able to interact with. There's no super soul who is witnessing you. There's nothing. There's this transcendental peace, everlasting, which will not give happiness. It's a state of neutrality. There's no interactions. There's no relationships. Hence, but we are observing and experiencing relationship in the material world. Are they very fulfilling? Are they very successful? Do they give us happiness and joy which are everlasting, which are not temporary, which are at the absolute platform? The answer is no. So some people mistaken that because these things are not successful here, hence these things are imperfect, and because absolute is perfect, imperfection cannot exist in the perfection, in the absolute. Therefore, the absolutes must be Brahman, and we go and merge into that Brahman. There cannot be any imperfect, which means imperfections such as relationships. And therefore, the only relationship with the absolute can be that of neutrality and the Shantaras. I go and merge and just stay like that forever. But this is the misconception. And when we see that the same, because the material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world, anything that exists here is a reflection, which means there is a reality beyond perception of our senses that exists in the absolute realm, of which this is the reflection, and that is what we're experiencing, like licking honey outside of the bottle. Therefore, the unhappiness, therefore, the imperfections, therefore, we do not feel completely satisfied within ourselves. Even though one could be the wealthiest, why is he still hankering for more? Why are they still making plans to go to the space and explore life? Why are they still craving for love? Because they don't get it. They're craving for name, fame, wealth. They want to become the biggest and the largest in this world. And when such ambitions grow to the point of the extent that I want to be like the only and unique God. That's where the last snare of Maya comes in. I want to merge with the God. So merging with God is the epitome of materialism. They don't know that this Brahman Jyoti is coming from some person. That person is Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if one is not able to fix his or her mind into that Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is but obvious that they will never be able to completely achieve the oneness of or unity of the will of with the will of the Lord. So their mind will always be perplexed, always be flickering. However hard they try their material means, they will never be able to achieve a one point of focus in their life. All they'll achieve may be the liberation, but that is this spiritual um, annihilation in some way, because you're no more in relationship with the God. Therefore, it is said that one who wants to achieve the perfection of yoga has to see Krishna. Then his mind will be peaceful. Just like when one waters the root of a tree, then all of the plant, all the leaves and the flowers, everything flourishes, and just watering the leaves and the flowers won't help. Similarly, if one is able to just build his relationship and satisfy Krishna, who is all attractive, who is Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose body everything is emanating, Aham Sarvatsa Prabhavo, Matta Sarvam Pravartate, Iti Matva Bhajante Mam, Buddha Bhava Samvita. So Krishna is saying that everything is emanating from me. Everything that we can see and that we cannot see is emanating from Krishna. That is his claim in Bhagavad Gita. But those who haven't got the ointment of love in the eyes, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochalena, Santa Sadaiv Hridesha Vilokayanti, those whose eyes are ointed by the pulp of love, they are able to see Krishna everywhere. In the heart, they see Santa Sadaiv Hridesha Vilokayanti. In their heart, they're seeing Krishna all the time because there is love. There is love for Krishna. And this love will be missing if one is trying to merge with the Brahman Jyoti. Who are you going to love? Like that guy who has gone to Australia with no activities. There is nobody. Who would you love? You wouldn't even have the sense of your own self. So, loving relationship. And that loving relationship with God, that loving devotion to God is called bhakti. Bhakti yoga. Yoga is linking with the God, and therefore bhakti yoga. And this is what Krishna is emphasizing here, that those yo mam pashyati sarvatra, those who sees me everywhere, sarvam chamai pashyanti, and sees everything in me, tasaham na pranashyami, I'm never lost, nor is he never lost to me, sacha me na pranashyati. So in this connection, I was just looking at this particular conversation that Srila Prabhupada is having. And he's saying here, so this is a conversation in 1976, December 5. It's present on Veda base. And this particular verse was being read. And there's an argument, there's a discussion there. There are some guests who are sitting there and talking about this particular verse. You can see here. This is the verse here, same verse. And a devotee has read the translation of this particular verse. And Srila Prabhupada is speaking about this verse now. So He's saying here, Prabhupada is saying, you are also seeing Krishna, but because you have no love, therefore you cannot appreciate how we are seeing. If you love someone person, you keep his photograph on the chest or breast, is it not? So you're seeing Krishna in the temple, but because you have no love, you think that I'm not seeing him. That is the defect. They're seeing Krishna, otherwise, why they are sacrificed everything for worshipping Krishna, dressing Krishna, feeding Krishna? They're seeing Krishna. They're not wasting their time, but you have no love for Krishna. You're thinking they are not seeing Krishna, they're worshipping an idol. That is the difference. One who loves somebody, he keeps his picture in his chest. He does not throw it. It is question of love. Therefore, it is said, Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiv hrideshu vilokayanti. One who has developed that love and bhakti, he can see Krishna at every moment. Otherwise, it's not possible. And because you cannot see, you ask them also, can you see? But the seeing process is different. We don't know the process, therefore we are thinking Krishna cannot be seen. And one who knows the process, he sees every moment. Is it clear? You learn the process, you will see Krishna every moment. Therefore, this word is used, Premanjana Charita. By eye ointment of love, you have to smear your eyes, and you'll be able to see Krishna. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samabrata. Find out this verse. One eye is covered by the Yog Maya, he cannot see Krishna. So they read the verse here. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrataha. Mudho yam na abhijanati loko ma majam abhayam. And like that, the conversation goes around. Somebody speaks about Sat Sai Baba, and Srila Prabhupada says that it's better to hear from the authorities of acharyas and not go to see some kind of miracle or magic just to be convinced, because you have to be convinced by the words of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that discussion keep going on, and then Prabhupada is speaking um, about the magnanimity of Krishna. So he's mentioning that why don't you want to see magic of Krishna? Why are you allured by the tiny magicians? That is your misfortune. If you want to see magic, see Krishna's magic. Krishna, when he was 3 months old, Putna came to kill the child by poisoning, but she was killed. From the very beginning, Krishna's appearance, he's killing many demons. Krishna says, Sarvlok Maheshwaram, I'm the proprietor of all the lokas. Why don't you be captivated by the person who has millions of gold mines by his wish? So we are poor, therefore we are captivated by poor magician. If we are intelligent, we should be captivated by Krishna's magic. And then he talks about this particular point, that when and how one can see Krishna, and what is the quality required to see Krishna. He says that it is an argument that if you have gone to a physician for curing your disease, why you are not cured? This is a nonsense question. It will take some time to be cured. Do you mean to say as soon as you go to physician, you become cured? Do you think? Why don't you answer like that? A foolish man will say like that you have taken to Krishna consciousness, why are you still suffering? Yes, suffering will be there. Kante pratijanahi name bhaktya pranashyati. But the assurance is there. You take the treatment. Why do you expect immediately you go to the physician, a father gets the daughter married expecting a child? Does it mean as soon as she's married, immediately child will come? And if a rascal says, oh, she's married, there's no child. Because he's a rascal. You must wait. Now she's married, it is sure she'll have child. That is a fact. But if the rascal wants, now my daughter is married, there is no child, what is this nonsense? This question is like that. You have come to Krishna consciousness, why are you suffering? You cannot answer this. Like that, Krishna, Prabhupada is giving this beautiful point about putting the faith in the process of Krishna consciousness. And then he goes on saying that you need utsaha, dhairyat. Dhairya means patience. You act, God acting with patience, the result will be nishchaya, nishchayat. The result will be there. Utsah dhairya nishchaya tat tat kan pravartanat. Tat vritah sadhu sange shadbir bhakti pradishyati. So why you should have a foolish person? Now I come to Krishna consciousness, I have become everything. Give up everything. Why do you think like this? The same example, girl is married and she'll have a child. Wait, nishchaya. When there is husband and wife, there'll be child. There's no doubt about it. Why do you expect immediately child on the day of marriage? And this is foolishness. And like this is giving further examples of MA examinations, etc. How one has to go through the process of Krishna consciousness as given by the acharyas, then one is able to see Krishna everywhere. And when, in chapter 10, Krishna has given this beautiful whole chapter is about seeing Krishna. How one can see Krishna? One can see obviously in the form of the deities, or in the personal form by serving the deities, by hearing from the devotees. That's how one can see Krishna all the time. But one can also see Krishna through the nature, through the qualities. And for example, Krishna says here many things, but I'll read some of them. This is the verse I was saying, I'm the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, and their lives are fully devoted to my service. So he then tells Arjuna that anything and everything that exists is an expansion of his own self. And then he starts telling him that, for example, he says that everything that you see and you hear is just me. And he says that of all the Rudras, I'm Shiva. Of Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kuvera. Of Vasus, I am fire or Agni. And so these things are still slightly difficult for us to comprehend. Mountains, I am Meru. But then he tells things that we know about. He says that of all the trees, I am Banyan tree. Of all the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chittat, and so on. Then he also talks about even more things that are very, very, very close to us. The language, he says, of the letters, I'm letter A. And among compound words, I'm the dual compound. Now we use letter A all the time. Srila Prabhupada gave example of water. Krishna also says that I'm the taste in water. So whenever we are sipping water, we are actually experiencing Krishna, but because of unawareness, because of covering of the Maya, we are unable to feel Krishna's presence. So this way, we can see how Krishna then says that those who don't believe my presence, ultimately, I am death for them. And I do come to them as all devouring death. So this is the way to see Krishna from the point of view that how everything around us is nothing but Krishna in some sense or the other. Okay, so concluding now that there's in Chatur Shloki Yoga, Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam, Krishna is mentioned to Lord Brahma, this particular verse, not this one here, 934. Yeah, so 933 Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam starts, Canto 2, chapter 933. Verse number 34 specifically talks about Krishna is saying to Brahmaji, "O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, rite ratham yat pratiyeta, of any value, it is without, if it is without relationship to me, na pratiyeta chatmani, if it is without relation to me, he has no reality. Sorry, has no reality. Tad vidyat atmano mayam, illusory energy. Know it as my illusory energy. Tad vidyat atmano mayam, yat abhaso yatha tamaha, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So here we can see how Krishna is saying that when we see anything without relationship to him, then that is Maya. Appears to be, that is illusory energy. Know it as my illusory energy. What does this mean? That when one's developed this love for Krishna, then he does not further distinguishes between Maya and Krishna. And he can see anything and everything in relationship to Krishna. Therefore, for that devotee, for that transcendentalist, everything is Krishna. It says here, if it is in without relation to me, it has no reality. So what is the moot point here? The moot point is whether a living entity is able to see everything in relationship to Krishna. If yes, then he's seeing reality, he's seeing Krishna. But if no, but if he sees this illusory world as the permanent reality, if he sees this body as the permanent reality, as himself, and he's not able to see it in relationship to Krishna, thinking that his body can annihilate, but the relationship of Atma, of the soul with the Supreme, is that in love and is in loving relationship. The soul is in loving relationship with Krishna. Then he's not able to see the reality. He's in Maya. But the same person, if he's able to see, like Srila Prabhupada says, that I'm using this mic to speak about Krishna consciousness. Then he's seeing this mic in relationship with Krishna. Therefore, this mic is no more a Maya for him. It is Krishna consciousness, because a consciousness which is reminding you of Krishna in everything that you see, everything that you talk, everything that you perceive, then that becomes Krishna consciousness. And that is the verse. This verse is saying, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. This is not some kind of mental concoction that I'll shift my psychology and mentality one day and I'll start seeing Krishna the way these verses are speaking. No, it has to come through the process of devotional service, Navada Bhakti. And that happens when the heart will become cleansed. Chetodarpan marjanam bhav mahadavagni nirvapanam shriya kairav chandika vitranam vidyavadu jivanam. When the heart will get cleansed by the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord, by the process of hearing Krishna Katha all the time, by the process of performing devotional services, then one would be able to clearly see transcendental existence of the Supreme Lord, the transcendental relationship of the soul and the Supreme, and then one would be able to see Krishna everywhere. One will able to develop that particular vision. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena santaha sadaiv hridesha vilokayanti. It is not an artificial way of looking things and shift the gear psychologically. No, it is a process driven. It is a process that comes through acharyas, and if we are able to accept it as it is, then the success is guaranteed, nishchayat. So I'll stop here with this particular verse. If there is any comment or question, we can take it now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mani Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. It's wonderful class. You made such a wonderful connection with the verse and everything, the devotional service, how we can see Krishna in everything. And actually, when we realize this, actually our mind is so free. We are not, actually, we won't be disturbed whatever happened, because if we see that as Krishna's, there won't be any problem in our life. Everything will be in place. You made such a wonderful connection with everything. I really appreciate your class. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So the beautiful thing is that when living entity goes to the spiritual world, he's in greater anxieties. But he's experiencing the transcendental mallows of loving relationship with Krishna. It's all Krishna. Yashoda Maya is feeling the anxiety when Krishna is held by Kalya Nag and held for hours together, 4 hours. You can imagine what's going to happen to a mother if the child is in the clutches of a big snake who can bite and who is most poisonous snake of the world. Such anxieties. And then Krishna relieves them of those anxieties, dancing on the Kalya Nag afterwards. And still, it's just constant anxieties. But because that Maya is that Yoga Maya. Yoga means connecting. That divine energy of Krishna is actually connecting us to Krishna. Hence Yoga Maya. This energy, which is illusory energies, is really keeping us away from Krishna, Mahamaya. Therefore, the transformation from Mahamaya to Yogamaya is that of the consciousness that we are able to be in relationship with Krishna. If that shift happens in the consciousness, we are already in the spiritual world, experiencing the spiritual mallows while sitting within these bodies. And that is the position of the acharyas and self-realized souls.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare
my
Krishna.
humble obeisances unto you. That was a wonderful class. When you were saying that, seeing everything in relation to Krishna and seeing Krishna, only Krishna in everything, I was remembering, the picture of Lord Chaitanya, embracing the rock or the tree, thinking that's Krishna in Radha Bhav. And I was thinking that's the way when you see everything as Krishna, actually, that everything is Krishna. There is nothing can exist without Krishna. So when we have that vision, then it will be so nice. I was just imagining the picture of Lord Chaitanya embracing the rock. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing your heart.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and even in mundane perspective, like Prabhupada was saying about Mike, because he's using the mic in service of Krishna, therefore it's all Krishna conscious. He would say, give me all the money of the world. I will spend it in the service of Krishna in one day. So just the consciousness of serving Krishna and not knowing anything else is the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. And in that Krishna consciousness, even other people will see it as building, but acharyas or devotee will see it as temple or Vaikuntha. Other people will think that somebody is eating food, but the devotees or acharyas will feel that they're eating Krishna's mercy. Krishna says that even though he's sitting in Vaikuntha, but he says that Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Pranakshiti. If you offer me, with love and devotion, you offer me fruit, water, or some, food stuff, then he would eat it. Now, Krishna is not lying, which means that he descends from Vaikuntha. He descends from Goloka just to accept that devotional service. And Prabhupada has given this example. It's not my example. It's Prabhupada. I just read his conversation around this. He gave this example that this is Krishna. Krishna is the most mystic personality. He's the magician. His His presence cannot be seen by our blunt senses or blunt eyes, but he descends if we offer with love and devotion. One simple act of devotion, Krishna is obliged to come. And that's how these devotees would see Krishna. Somebody can say, oh, you need eyes to see Krishna. Take example of Bilva Mangal Thakur. He went blind, but Krishna is always present with him. He could see Krishna through the eyes of his mind. So that's how Krishna can be seen according to the acharyas. And what you just said is also wonderful. The example of Lord Chaitanya, he would see Krishna in everything and every, because the stage that you're talking about is the stage of being mad in love. When somebody's mad in love, when a person is madly in love with some other person, a 16-year-old boy and a girl, in everything they're seeing their partner. This is a perverted, mundane reflection of the eternal reality. Now, this madness or the parakashta, the epitome of love, was manifested in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his later stages, where he would just see Krishna in everything, everywhere. He would go madly rushing to the different parts of the Puri, and there was a mountain. He would rush to that mountain and think that this is Govardhan, and he'll fell in trance, and somebody will then wake him up and bring him to external consciousness. And he'll say, oh, why did you bring me out? Because I was seeing Radha and Krishna's pastimes over this Govardhan hill. So that's really, really very, very deep mood of very high ecstatic and very esoteric mood of devotion, which is not generally exhibited. Our acharyas exhibit the mood of what, like Srila Prabhupada exhibited, that every moment he was preaching Krishna consciousness, everything he was utilizing Krishna's service, every person he was meeting he was touching their heart and giving them Krishna consciousness. In that way, philosophically, practically, and behaviorically, he was demonstrating how he was seeing Krishna all the time, every moment and any moment. We are so fortunate actually to have such a personality being with us in such a recent time that is rare in the whole yugas. We can't see such personalities. So we're really, really very, very fortunate to have such an acharya, and we have the good fortune of his literature being present to us, his consciousness, his mind, his thinking, everything is there with us, and we are able to relish those mellows of his transcendental pastime. So it's already 50 past. If there's no other question or comment, we can close the session here. If there is, please feel free.
Hare Krishna Manipur, but just one other thing you mentioned, like the person who wanted to go away from everything, go to Australia and then live in an island and nothing to do, like the way impersonalists think that they merge into the Brahmajyoti. they want to enjoy that way, but they can't. We need to have a devotional service. We need to serve Krishna. That's the way we get connected. Otherwise, there's no happiness otherwise. Very nicely, you gave it a nice example to make us understand how, Brahmajyoti and then serving Krishna, devotional way, how is it, so much difference between these two. It was really, I really like your, class. It's really, really nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matu. Thank you. All glory to Prabhupada. Okay, then we close today's session now. Vanchakaltarubhyascha kripa sindhubhaivacha
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare.
Thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.